There we go. It's flashing. It's like you hear the click, and then it's like, okay, we'll flash in like 3 seconds. Well, it's weird. It'll start recording, but you won't know until you see it
Yep.
flashing. So there's like this little, where I'm like, where the camera's like, look at me seeing it, whatever. But no, I appreciate you coming on here.
Sure.
Do you want to introduce yourself for the people?
Sure, yes. My name is Mohamed Selim, and I'm assistant teaching professor in the electrical and computer engineering department at Iowa State University. Also, I was a PhD student here, so I first arrived like 2014 to do my PhD, and then I finished my PhD. I think I had my defense on Friday. I start my position Monday, so it was like very tight, but this is actually how things are coming when you are getting an offer and you have to finish your PhD to start with your PhD. So it was very tight at that time, but mainly I'm teaching here in the department fundamental courses like programming, digital logic design analysis, and then going to cybersecurity courses, so fundamental of cybersecurity or introduction to computer security, or even security in wireless networks. So those are, some of the courses I'm teaching here at Iowa State University.
I heard this is your first semester doing CPRA 230, the cybersecurity fundamentals.
Yes.
How are you liking that?
Yeah, I like it very much because, this course is trying to take the students from, not knowing anything about cybersecurity into having, those, like I can say, experts, not experts like they are doing everything, but at least experts in dealing with Linux servers and so on. So, the first day in class, I found like lots of questions. Do we have to have background in, Linux command line or something like that? No, you don't have to, know any experience about that. You will gain all the experience during the course. So now while we are progressing, during the semester, I find that the students are engaging a lot, they are learning a lot and so on. And the most important thing I'm doing with them now is that you have to know how to troubleshoot problems that you are going to face because you are going to face a lot of them, right? If every problem I'm going to give you, like, here is the answer or here is how to resolve it, this is not the way I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you by giving you pointers and you have to figure it out by yourself. And this is actually what we are doing now. So myself and my TAs, all of us actually are having the same strategy. Just give them pointers and, just point them where to troubleshoot or try to figure out from here or this file or check the configuration here and so on. Not actually, accessing a server and then, configuring everything. Okay, now it's working.
Yeah, it's a lot of Stack Overflow. I TA'd for that class last semester. It was like, the troubleshooting got ridiculous about like halfway through, especially like when the email servers come around. So
that's right.
For that. It's like, it's props to you for being I haven't heard anything bad about it yet. So
yeah, sometimes I give you students like, extension because I know that troubleshooting is not like, something that you do it for 2-3 minutes. It can take like 5 minutes, it can take an hour, it can take like, a day or two. You are every time returning back here to try to troubleshoot and it's not working, going to another, course or study or whatever, returning back. So some students, I'm giving them actually extension because of that. You are good since you are working on it. This means that you are putting the efforts, so I'm good. So here is an extension for, 4 days, 5 days, just to be able to figure it out.
I like that because when Dr. Rush teached it, she was like, this is due the day before your next lab.
Yep.
That's it. You wait a minute, like when it hits 12 at midnight, you're done. It's late, 0.
And like the extension, it has to be with an evidence that, okay, here's a problem that's taking so much time. So the extension is not given to everyone, right? It's only given to, a particular student who is putting a lot of efforts and he is almost there. So in this case, yes, I can give you, an extension instead of just giving up and, not submitting your report or something like that.
Yeah. That's why, that's like one thing I kind of like didn't like too much about the class when she was teaching, although I love her as a professor. She's one of my favorite professors I've had here. But I was like, this is kind of like harsh grading where it's like, if the TAs don't know and I don't know, I don't think that should come down to punish the student's grade.
Yeah, she is a great instructor. She is having very good experience. She built actually, was one of the professors that built this like major the cybersecurity major.
she was building the machines from like 5 to 7 years. I was talked to her last night
Yes,
about it. It was actually
yes.
really interesting.
And yeah, she did a great thing to the department actually with the team actually, because they were a team actually working on, from the very beginning approving this measure and then working on having the servers and everything. But once it comes to the instructor perspective, like when this is due, am I going to be flexible or not? You'll find that instructors differ than each other.
Yeah.
Each one is treating students with a certain perspective that if you try to discuss it with the instructor, you may find that the instructor is having a good reason for doing this or that.
Oh yeah, no, she's always been a great teacher. I'm not saying this in a negative way at all. But
Yeah.
now I'm taking digital forensics with her, and it's still an experimental course, just like Intro to Wireless Security. But I just really like how she teaches her stuff. She doesn't really read from the slides, and neither do you really. I really like your style of instructing. Like you actually seem very interested in the topics that you teach, which is amazing as a student. Because have you seen the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
No.
Anyways, there's this teacher that's like very monotone. So he's doing roll call at time. He's like Bueller,
Yeah.
Bueller. Does anybody know Ferris? Just very monotone. I feel like he's like, I'm in the worst profession possible. Just hates his job. So it's like seeing a teacher who actually or a professor, sorry, that enjoys their job as much as you do and Dr. Rush does. It's very enjoyable to be in those classes.
Yeah.
So I guess what made you want to go into academia for a profession?
Yeah, this is a long story, but I will try my best to make it short. So I think once I finished my bachelor degree, I decided I'm going to industry because I did like a couple of internships with a cellular provider, and I like it very much. I like the way we are troubleshooting the base stations or the towers that your mobile is connecting to, the design, the planning, where to put this base station, and going to the site and trying to figure out things and so on. So I like it very much, and I decided I'm going to join the industry. At the same time, I got an offer from my university to, work there as a teaching assistant and start, getting my master's and so on. So, once I got this offer, I said, no, I still want to go to industry. And then I was actually, yes, insisting to go to industry, but open to listen, to people, mentors, and so on. So I sat with one of the professors and I told him, here's the situation, I have this offer and then, the other things and so on. So he told me, and this was in Egypt actually, because it's a different market than here. So he told me, by the way, how many students are having bachelor degree and or not students actually, engineers are having bachelor degree and graduated and ready to jump into the market? I said, maybe thousands. And he told me, okay, what if you accepted that offer for teaching and doing your master degree? And then after that, what about you didn't like that and you return back to the market with a master degree? How many engineers there will compete with you with master degree? I told him maybe hundreds. And then he said, okay, we will have companies interested in you. I said, maybe, because I'm coming actually from a university with my background from there and so on. And then he started to build on that. So what about you like things there in the academia and then you continued with your PhD? How many engineers or at this point PhD holders that will compete if you want to return back to the market? And at this point I said, yeah, maybe tens or still hundreds, but less than the masters. And then at this point, he told me, it's your decision now. You now understand fully what is the market, what they want, and so on. So at this point, after sitting with him, I decided, let me go try this job. And then after that, it's easy at any point to return back to the industry. But if you turn it around, and this is based on Egypt's market, if you went to the industry, it's a little bit hard to return back to the academia. And once I actually started this job and, went to my first recitation, and I found that what I like very much when I see the students looking at me and I'm feeling that they are understanding the material, that I'm demonstrating to them. And I found that this feeling is developing one recitation after the other and so on. And at this point, I decided, hey, I have to stay here for some time. I started to take away the concept of, no, I'm going to academia, I'm just trying. No, I'm going to stay. And from that point, actually, I stayed until today. So I think I started that 2006, and until today, I'm teaching every year, either as a TA or as university professor. So as you can see, actually, I ended up going to the way that at the very beginning I said, no, I don't want that way and I want the other way.
So I'm curious. So I recently went on to like the ECpe, CPRE, whatever directory, and I saw some professors were labeled as associate professors and some were like professors. What's the difference in that?
Okay, very good. So we have, let's start with the basic rank, which is assistant professor and then assistant teaching professor. So the only difference between these two ranks is that the assistant professor, he's having more like teaching responsibilities, more research responsibilities than teaching responsibilities. For assistant teaching professor, he's having more teaching responsibilities than research responsibilities. Both of them are doing both actually, but the assistant teaching professor, which is my title actually, is more about teaching. So this is, the two difference here. Then each one of them is having the ranks that he's going to promote to. So the assistant professor is going to associate professor, and then the next rank is full professor. For the assistant teaching professor, it's the same thing. So associate teaching professor and then full teaching professor. So this is actually how we, categorize that into two categories, and then each category is having its own promotional, stairs.
Yeah, that's interesting because I was looking at it, I'm like, well, I don't know what the difference is. But
Yeah.
then I saw like some teachers got rewarded or with a hard pull teaching assistant, something like that or whatever.
Yep.
And I think one of them was like Dr. Dewey and then Mai Zhang.
Right.
Dr. Zhang, yeah, that teaches 308. But so I guess looking at the list of courses that are offered within CPRE, are there any other ones that you want to be teaching that you aren't teaching right now?
So some courses that I used to teach them, and sometimes I'm not teaching because I'm teaching new courses or something like that. I like 281, which is digital logic, design analysis. I like this course very much. I feel that when I'm teaching this one, you remember when we was talking about like the excited professor who's teaching something and like it very much and teaching, in this way. I like this course that much. Like I feel that, with every lecture, I know how to engage the students. I know how actually to ask the question and waiting for their answers and then showing them on the slides and annotating the slides and giving them many examples and so on. So I like this course and how actually it is organized and so on. And one thing to mention about this course that I got the course slides and the material mainly from Dr. Stoichev, and from there I started to modify and doing things. But actually from here I want to thank him actually for giving me the base, because this was the first course to teach when I started here at Iowa State. But before that, when I was doing my PhD, I was a TA for this course. So I came from teaching the course in the station in the lab to teaching this course as the instructor. So this is the course that I like it very much, and I want to teach it every semester. But again, there is a schedule and things that for the department that we have to put this course here and this for this instructor and so on. But another course actually I like to teach it very much is 185, which is Introduction to Programming. And the way actually I like this course is that I try to change the delivery of the course. Instead of just, the whole lecture, I'm just lecturing or showing some codes and so on. So the way I changed that into a team-based learning course where, I asked the students to finish some readings before the lecture, which is giving them the basic material for the lecture. And then coming into the lecture, they take a quick quiz just to make sure that they are, understanding the material they already read. And then going into a mini lecture, giving them, advanced concepts. And then the remaining part of the lecture, we are just like programming in teams. So, there is a group here, group here, group here, and every group actually is working with each other, sharing a document, and then, one of the group is writing this part, the other one is writing this part, and then, all of them putting that together. I think I like the delivery of the course in this way very much. At the very beginning, students was resisting a little bit, but they like it very much actually by the end of the semester.
So you use Replit for the team-based coding?
So team-based learning. So team-based learning is a well-known way actually of changing the delivery of the course from a lecturer or a professor who is 90% of the time of the lecture is just talking into having an environment in the classroom that not only the instructor giving new information, it can be actually one of your teammates who understand this part very well and starting actually to demonstrate that to his team. So this is why it's called team-based learning. So we can learn from each other and the instructor. It's not only the instructor.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when I took 185, there was like 120 students in it. So how are you able to take such a large class size and be like, okay, and we're going to have, I'm assuming maybe 4 to 8 people per team, or how do you
Yes.
divide that up?
The maximum is 6 per team, and I did that actually with 150.
Wow.
Yeah, and the good thing actually that team-based learning courses are getting priority for the assignment of the classroom from the university. So in this case, actually, I put a request. I want this room, which is having movable chairs and then tables and so on, not the auditorium that you only have the chairs looking to the front and that's it. So in this case, actually, we get something like that, and then while I'm teaching, maybe for 20 minutes or something like that, all the students are facing me. Once now we are working with groups. You will find everyone is moving the chairs and so on and sitting with each other together to start working on, an programming assignment or something like that. So this is how actually we make sure that, okay, the classroom is helping me with what I'm doing. Because if you are not doing that, you'll find, okay, how the team is going to work with each other if it is a regular auditorium or something like that. So
Yeah. So yeah, I remember in ComS 309, it's a software development class.
yeah.
And that's Dr. Mitra teaches that class. He's a comp sci professor. And he specifically gets those rooms where it's like, you can at least turn your chair around and, talk to the people behind you or however. I think that's really neat because I really like classes that aren't just an hour lecture. And, like when Ahmed came in and, did
Yeah.
the lecture, he's like, okay, I'm going to make you guys get in your group so you at least know the faces of the people that you're,
Yep.
and it's not just Discord usernames. And he actually really killed it that day. He did really good. And it was neat. He's like, okay, so these are your group mates. You're have 5 minutes just to do icebreakers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, okay, so here's kind of, what I'm going to be teaching you today. So it was at least cool that, he's like, okay, we're going to make you not comfortable, right? You sit in your everyday seat, whatever. Now go move around. You guys are going to sit over here, whatever. So it's like teachers or professors who are interactive with the class and really make them not just sit there, take notes, and absorb information and just be a sponge, but be very interactive. Like I really like the sometimes you'll prompt the question, but like sometimes I'll be like writing down notes and then I'm just sitting there in a daze hoping someone else answers it.
Yeah.
But I really like the interactive teaching style versus just like reading off the slides or whatever.
Yeah.
So I guess. Did you have some influence when you were taking classes? You're like, I really like this. This is how I'm going to be as a professor.
Yes. So before finishing my PhD, I registered in a course. It's named Preparing Future Faculty. And this course actually is offered by the Graduate College and CELT, which is a Center of Excellence in Learning and Teaching. And they actually, delivered this one using team-based learning. And I was, inspired by how actually we are learning from each other, how the team is discussing most of the time, how the 3 hours are not like that long when we are, most of the time discussing and, having lots of discussion between each other or working on an assignment. And then the instructor interrupt at a certain point, hey, let's do this or that, or maybe lecturing for 20 minutes and then leaving us to discuss again or do mock interviews with each other, like lots of activities that we can do with each other. So from that point, actually, I was inspired with team-based learning. And, once I started my job, I, started to see the courses that can be taught using team-based learning, and I started to do that directly. And even though I started also to modify the course in a way, or even modify the team-based learning itself in order to fit a certain course. So this is actually how I implemented that.
Are you trying to do that in cybersecurity fundamentals as well?
So no. So most of the time, actually, when I'm teaching the course for the first time, or maybe uh, getting a course from someone and teaching that course, the first delivery, I'm trying to understand everything about the course. Because most of the time, actually, when you deliver the course for the first time, you're just learning about the course. You are, understanding if you did this change, if is it going to be good or bad, or something like that. So the very first time, I always like deliver the course as it is, and then from that delivery, I, try to think about, okay, what if I put that as team-based learning or project-based learning, or even keep the course taught in the same way, but I will put like, some group activities to be done within the semester to keep the students engaged and so on. So it is mainly for me based on understanding the course and then to see how I can develop this course, how I can change the delivery and so on.
Yeah, I like that a lot. So do you think the next time you teach 230, you'll try and develop more team-based learning exercises into it?
I think, yeah, adding at least a piece of, application activity that the students can work during the lecture time with each other as a group and so on. I think this may be added to 230 just to make sure that, at a certain point we have the beginning of the lecture talking about certain topic, let's say firewalls and so on. And then the student will have like maybe the last 10 minutes or 15 minutes of the lecture going in their groups and then starting to set some firewall rules or something like that. So I think maybe I will try to do that, and it doesn't have to be all the lectures. It can be like certain lectures. And the same thing when I delivered team-based learning for programming. I found that there are some topics that are not easy actually for the students to just read the basics and understand them. For example, pointers. Pointers, I know that this topic is not like an easy to understand from just reading it for the first time. So in this case, actually, although I delivered the whole course using team-based learning, when I just arrive at pointers, I put 1 week, no team-based learning. I return back to the regular lecturing to make sure that they understood everything about the basics of pointers. And then next week, still we are dealing with pointers, but we return back to the team-based learning delivery. So this is how I, sometimes modify even team-based learning just to make sure that everything is going well in the course. I do the same thing actually with recursion at the end of the semester. Again, the
Yeah,
concept
that's
of
a big one.
recursion, somehow, it's not easy to just read something and then understand recursion. And at this point, actually, I return back for 1 week to the regular lecturing, and then after that, the next week, yes, return back to application activities and things to do during the lectures related to recursion.
So 185 is kind of, I don't know, I'd say it's almost more like a computer science course. Like, like your 227, which is Intro to Object-Oriented Programming. OOC is, more lower level compared to Java or something like that. But do you ever foresee yourself teaching 227 or what is the 228? I can't think of the name of it.
Yeah, I think 227. But, for me, I think it's more to the computer science department than to our department. But yes, any course which is related, because as you know, like computer science, computer engineering are, related somehow. So I can teach this course, but as I told you before, I like to teach the courses that I feel that I'm giving my max in these
Yeah.
courses, right? So this course, I can teach it, but I don't think so that this is one of the courses that I'm going to do my best actually teaching this course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I only ask because I think you're a phenomenal teacher. This is my first time having you, but I'd say between you and Dr. Rush right now, I'm equally enjoying both classes right now, even though they're in their experimental phase.
Yeah.
But I'd say just due to the fact that you are, in my opinion, such a great professor in terms of delivering material and helping students understand things, I think, it's like people are like, oh, well, the lower level courses are just not interesting. It's like, well, you have to learn the basics before you can get to the stuff that actually interests you. I think having the really good professors, even at the lower levels, really helps students and really helps, decline the retention rates improve the retention rates of people involved within the curriculums and stuff.
Uh-huh.
You see a big transfer from, the computer engineering or any engineering course
Yeah.
or degree or field, whatever. There's a big retention rate. Like a lot of the first and second year engineers, next thing you know, they're transferring to MIS or business or accounting, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like having those professors that help build those firm relationships with the students and saying like, you can do this. just helping push them forward. I think that's very important. But ultimately, I'm not going to tell you what courses to teach, but I think just having, good professors
Yeah.
in the entry level courses are still a very vital thing for a university as well. But I guess we're looking at 10, that's about 10 minutes left. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll do two more topics. I guess had, going through your college or high school, whatever, did you come through any obstacles where you're like, this just isn't for me anymore? Or did anything try and like dissuade you from going into the profession that you're going to?
Okay, so this is another story that I can talk about, which is I think before going to the school, like once I finished high school, my father told me, okay, what about considering, medicine school or, something like that? And I told him, no, I like engineering and I would like to go to engineering, And the good thing about my father, he's not like forcing or anything. He just like giving a suggestion because this is a big problem actually. If, some parents are looking at that as we know better than you. So yes, you will go to the medicine school. And, I can guarantee that if a parent did that, his son or daughter will not succeed there. And I saw many cases, either here in Egypt, that they were forced to go somewhere they don't want this way. And at a certain point, they will find themselves, no, we are failing and we have to return back and decide what we wanted from the very beginning and go there. So this is why actually I appreciate for my father that he didn't force me doing that, and he just gave me an advice. He also took me to professor that, talked with me and tried to understand how I'm thinking about things. Even when I had my first year. So the first year engineering back in Egypt is generic year. And from that year, you are going to go to the majors. So also my father told me, okay, what about considering civil engineering? It's, a good one and you have like lots of opportunities to work, good paid and so on. And then I told him, no, I like, the computer engineering, electrical engineering, those stuff. And at this point, actually, he made me to sit with a professor with civil engineering. And then he started to convince me about civil engineering. And he said in civil engineering, everything is in front of you, right? If it is related to constructions, you can see everything. But those for, electric and computer engineering will tell you, hey, this wire is having some current inside, but you will never see it. And he was trying to convince me in a way that this is imagination and this is reality or something like that. But I was actually, from the very beginning, I want to go this way. And after sitting with him, my dad, was smiling. He thought that he convinced me and then asked me, what about going to civil engineering? I said, no, I'm still actually going this way. And again, he respected my opinion and left me to go that way. And, I can say that this is the best advice that I'm giving to students. And even I advise some students actually, for example, in software engineering, I found that a student was not performing very well. And, most of the time I'm going over the grades and try to see those students sending an email and saying, hey, if I can help by any means, actually, you can come and, talk with me and so on. And that student, actually, I found him just saying, I'm actually wanted to go to design, but my father told me that software engineering is the future. They are well paid, and at the same time, after finishing here, you can just do with the software and stuff. You can do the stuff for design just from the computer. It's from a limited perspective that I'm just looking at where's the market at. But what about me? What about
Yeah.
me? I would be the student. I would be the one who is taking courses that I don't like. And at this point, actually, I told him that I want to talk with your father. And we had a quick meeting, three of us, and discussed, this. And then next semester, he went to the design
That's awesome.
major. Yeah, because this is the main thing. It's, am I doing something that I like, or I'm doing something because, after graduating, I will be well paid? It's this question, what you are doing this for. It's for, you like it, you will succeed. You are doing it for, just for well paid or something like that, maybe you will succeed or no. There is a probability there.
Yeah. I feel like, so it's like, I kind of have a similar story. It's like, I remember going to like a college fair during my senior year of high school, the last year before I'd graduate. And at that time, I'm like, I just want to play guitar. I want to be in a rock band. I want to do all this stuff. Because I don't know if you know the band Motley Crue from the 80s. They're like a hair metal band where like some of the Guns N' Roses and stuff. As my parents took me to go see them when I was 14. I'm like, that's it. That's what I want to do. I mean, they're shooting flames off their guitars and stuff. I'm like, this is just sick. Like the theatrics were just phenomenal. And then back when they were actually, in their 20s, 30s, they sounded great. But it's like they're in their 50s and 60s now playing the same rock music. It just doesn't sound as good anymore. But it's still cool to see. So I picked up guitar and I played guitar all through high school. And it came to this college fair thing. I'm like, Mom, I don't want to go to college. But I had like a 3.85 GPA out of 4.
Wow, pretty good.
And I wasn't just taking like the easiest class. I was taking the advanced placement courses and stuff. So my mom's like, no, you need to go to college. But my last semester of college, or no, not sorry, that's now last semester of high school, I took this intro to cybersecurity course. I'm like, this is sick. And then that's when the Facebook versus Cambridge Analytica fallout came with a huge data breach and stuff. I'm like, that's what I want to be a part of. I want to make sure that never happens. Well, obviously it's going to happen continuously because there's just so much. You can't protect everything. It's impossible because I think Dr. Jacobson said it the best in one of his CPRE 532 lectures. Blue team only has to be right every single time, all hours of the day, on everything. A hacker only has to be right one time on a single thing. It's like, it's just not fair. So so seeing that perspective, it's like, I think that's really neat. And then now taking embedded systems with Dr. Jones, I think I'm trying to get a job in embedded systems right now for BAE right now. So that's a defense contracting company that's internationally known. But I think that's my calling. I like coding stuff, but I also like having a sense of like defense and security. So it's like, then why not mix both?
Yeah, very good.
But I guess we are going into the last 5 minutes here. Is there any last things you want to tell listeners? Any advice you want to give? Motivation?
One thing actually also I want to, clarify when I said like, when a parent is, asking you, hey, you have to go there because of this or that. At the same time, parents are, for example, when you said now I didn't want to go to college, this is the rule of the parent, right? They have to convince you, no, you have to go and so on. So I think at this point, actually, both the parent and the son or daughter, they have to discuss a lot just to, at least one of them will convince the other, I think this is the best way. It's not like you have to go to the design or you have to go to the software engineering, or it's me actually who is just like don't want to go to the college at all, and that's it. So it has to be a full discussion actually about that, talking with many people, trying to make sure that we are taking the right decision. And, everyone is taking right decisions, sometimes wrong decisions. But when you are trying to figure out, oh, this is a wrong decision, trying to correct that decision as soon as possible. This is the best practice actually to make sure that you are returning back to the right way.
Yeah. I think that's a good note to end on.
Yeah.
But no, I appreciate you being on here. And this has been Unplugged and Muted. I don't know what episode this is. It's probably 21 or something, but thank you.
Thank you.